Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Lloyd Skinner. I'm the CEO and founder of Greyfly.ai. Greyfly.ai has created an intelligent project prediction tool that uses AI to deliver executives delivery intelligence to increase project success. And I'm pleased today to be interviewing Roman Reznikov from the Ukraine, more about his views around AI and the application to project management. Roman, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure, thank you very much, Lloyd. My name is Roman Reznikov, as you mentioned. I am vice president at Intellias. This is like one of the biggest IT companies in Ukraine, and also I'm a president in PMI Ukraine chapter. Also, I'm a member of Forbes Technology Council, trying to share my technology expertise and technology background with the community via Forbes articles. So that's shortly about myself.
Fantastic, Roman. It sounds like you're going to have some fantastic insight for us, and thank you so much for joining us. So, without further ado, what's your immediate views around the use cases for AI in project management?
Yeah, so if you look at the project management from PMI view, project management can be decomposed down to like different knowledge areas. And in each knowledge area, I think we have like large opportunity to use AI. For example, for the scope management, we have experience using AI for the prioritization. You know, when you have multiple number of tasks from multiple product owners or product managers, and sometimes in order to always assemble them together and somehow go through prioritization may take a lot of time, we can actually, based on previous decisions, build a AI which may help actually to build this prioritization and form the backlog based on that. So in the scope management, right now I see a good opportunity for application of AI for large projects where like bringing all people together is usually a headache, and you know that might be a good approach. It might be also used for scheduling, like scheduling the cost, because these two are very tightly coupled. So still, like based on multiple data and parameters that we have in past, like number of time efforts that we spent on completing different tasks or different tasks with taking into account their complexity, like story point, we can actually build some forecasting predictions. Also, you know, like see the connections between projects and tasks and somehow take this into account. It's more complicated. I have to be honest, I have never seen so far any working product in this direction, but my assumption that it may appear in the close future is basically this is doable, and this is kind of routine task that needs to be done. I saw a very interesting application of AI and HR management on the project, especially for the large project where you have number of employees and attrition of each employee is pretty significant risk. So AI may actually be very helpful to identify on a very early stages the risks with the specific employees of the attrition. So, you know, like in when you open a credit account in the bank, based on multiple scores, they trying to calculate the risk that you will be a credible person and you will get back the money they give to you. So the same actually we can do for employees based on a number of parameters which we know about employee, which company knows about the employee. Company may predict what are the risks of this person to be like to consider leaving the project or shifting to another company. It could be some parameters which you can never think about, for example, about number of the children, marriage, age, number of the years in the company, salary comparing to the market, and so on and so forth. So I saw the model which consists about 80 different parameters, 80, so 80 different parameters, and based on that, it were able to predict that person has high risk to leave even before the person actually considers to leave, and that helped a lot managers to make some appropriate actions to mitigate those cases. So that was pretty important. And other areas like quality management, risk management, I think AI also like very much helpful everywhere where you can actually make the decisions based on the previous results of the previous decisions. I think this is a very powerful tool. And yeah, with the evolution of this tool set, I think we can actually see it more and more in project management.
Yeah, I mean, that's quite a diverse set of applications you've got there, Roman. I must admit that the one around employees, I haven't come across that before. And fascinating, and in terms of the application to onboarding people around a project, as we know the cost of people coming on board or leaving midway through the project. So really fascinating around that. Really fascinating. And if we start thinking about those 4 subjects, or if you want to home into 1 or 2 of them in terms of the benefits that both the project and a company would receive if we could get those applications right, as it were.
I think the key benefit that such kind of AI may find some based on the collected data, they may find some correlations or deviations on anomalies which a person cannot find individually, or maybe some of the decisions where we usually have our personal biases or just human factor. That's usually not the case with the AI. So building any decision making where decision making can be done based on pure data, I think the AI may be super helpful. Also, in some cases that AI may be not that precise as, for example, if the decision is done by human, but that might be faster, for example, as prioritization. If each BA would sit and prioritize the task by him or herself, that would be definitely more efficient, but it would take tons of time. And if you have a backlog of 1,000 tasks, likely, we want somehow to save our time. And AI may be less precise, but more helpful here. So I think those are the case. It's also about, for example, risk management. So a lot of methods, they are based somehow on data analytics, and where we have data, we can actually build some AI algorithm. So I foresee that some of the risks and correlations between different events, some anomalies in the large number of data, could be identified only with some machine learning algorithms, and likely human may notice all the deviations, and sometimes we can actually find something really interesting. I remembered one of the case, for example, it's close to AI, so it's more about machine learning, but still it's related to software engineering. We were working with a huge legacy application of our client, and the problem was that the architecture was very monolithic and very all stylish, let's call it so. And in order to make any change in the functionality of this app, you need to rewrite a lot of stuff. And sometimes, touching one piece, you may break 10 other pieces. And basically, AI-based algorithm helped to identify risk areas. And he said, okay, if you want to move this button, unlikely you will break 90% of the rest of the application. So maybe you shouldn't move this button, but change the workflow in any other way, which may result in less work for you. So basically, it's helped to understand for the client what kind of changes they may perform with minimum impact on the rest of the application. And that was kind of defined AI based. So AI just we built algorithm which actually identified all those connections, and based on the previous reports of defect reports, they found the areas which are the most problematic. So I think this is kind of the sample of how that might be used.
I mean, that's almost another application there. If I may just go back to one of the points you said there, which I found really fascinating, which was around the bias. Now, as we both know, there's a lot of rhetoric published around bias within AI. But I was really fascinated because you indicated that AI would take the bias away there. Do you mind just unpacking that a little bit and exploring what your thoughts are around that?
Okay, so all AIs in the end of the day based on the specific data set, and the question how those data set was created. If the data set is based on the decisions that was done by human being, all the biases that we had would be also somehow featured in AI. So it will just replicate the similar decisions that you did before. If decisions were made on another set of data which were not somehow humanly generated, so AI may, like in poker, it's just cut off the fill-ins and just based on the math may help to make those decisions. So that's completely different set of results that we can achieve. And in such cases, definitely AI might be more efficient. So for example, still, like I'm using this case with the prioritization, but it could be on both sides. From one side, it may learn from experience of previous decisions regarding the decision and regarding the priority and set the similar priority, but you can actually think about some different scoring, like VSGF model, which is used in Scaled Agile framework, where it may actually just grab the data from different sources and automatically make decisions without any feeling or emotions that people might bring to this functionality.
I was thinking about what actually happened on a project. So in a simplistic form, what was the actual go live to that project of a certain type? I think it's great. And as you're aware, I'm having these conversations a lot now, and it's the first time that somebody's brought that lens to it. So thank you for that, Roman. I'm just going to move on a second, and in terms of the applications again, do you see that differing by sector? Or by country even, would some of these AI use cases alter?
Like I'm from IT sector, and basically the majority of the cases that comes to my mind, they comes from IT. But also I see like we are like in touch with many different industries, and I see that how AI-based decision making is also goes to different other areas. It just came to my mind another project in my practice. We worked with the construction company, and we helped them to build kind of task tracking system for the construction. And the things they did, and basically that was part of their project management. They implemented IoT devices in the helmets of the workers on their construction.
Yes. Yeah.
And they noticed their like movement across this construction, and based on that, they first adjusted the space. Second, they identified the risky areas. For example, they realized that, for example, many people go in some area where they have risk of, I don't know, be somehow injured by construction. And based on that, they also adjusted their project management plan to minimize those risks, because if something that happened with one of the employees, they will have like significant penalties, and this is kind of also financial risk for them. And we saw basically how AI in this case helps them to optimize the route of the people, to minimize the possible risk and minimize the cost that they would need to invest in the end of the day. So that was kind of another application. So I mostly see it from IT perspective, and my probably view on that might be a bit adjusted based on that, but I assume in many other areas it's now also become more and more popular.
Yeah, it's interesting. We've been chatting 10-15 minutes, and we might have to slow down, Roman, because you're up to like 7 or something applications, use cases of AI, and I'm sure that there's many more as well. So I know you come from an IT background, but the fact that you're seeing so many different use cases, and and the fact that they're often customer facing, so there's real tangible benefit for these use cases as well.
Yeah.
So okay, we've been talking about use cases and the benefits, but this is not easy, yeah, or is it? What's the constraints? What's the challenges when it comes to implementing some of this stuff?
Yeah, so actually there are a lot. First is basically data. Data is the foundation, the ground of any AI-based algorithm, and to collect them, structure them, and have them in like pretty good scenarios, pretty tough. And many companies, they do fail having those data in the right form, in the right place. Second, actually, to able to build some sufficient algorithm out of this data. Sometimes they're like we work with a lot of organizations, they are quite strong in like data management, but they have no idea what to do with this data, how to build any algorithm, how like what to do with them. So that's another challenge. So it requires to be somehow creative and think, okay, how I can use this data to get some benefits for my project. So how I can use it in my project management. Yeah, and the third one actually likely the preciseness of this. So we are human beings, and despite of like multiple experience before, we may adjust our behavior. And right now we live in very unpredictable and like rapidly changing world, and all our experience that was previously, we had COVID year, we have like right now war in Ukraine, and you know, like definitely any AI that we would set up like in the previous periods would not somehow handle the situation that we have right now, and we would need to readjust it. So in the cases where a person may make alternative decision based on this like changed situation, AI would just strictly go to the point. And sometimes we just have not enough data. For example, if you have a very short project, it's like not years, it's like months, it's like not the big scale. We literally have not enough information to build some sufficient algorithm out of that. So that's not easy, and but still it's doable, and it's became more and more popular.
It's interesting, you know, your point about, you know, obviously the war in Ukraine, but also COVID, and the models wouldn't have coped with that. I think for me, this goes back to maybe the wider question about, you know, these type of systems are supposed to inform us as humans to make better decisions, or you know, I know the term augment us in human decision making is popular, and I think, you know, that in a way is kind of where I'm at in terms of the maturity of these systems are not to replace the running of projects and individuals. They're to improve projects and improve maybe the softer side of decision making. So, you know, you've got better data to hand. You are more informed than you would be otherwise. But you know, it just struck me from what you were saying there, Roman. Does that make sense from your perspective?
Absolutely. Yeah, I do agree that AI right now is a tool. It's a powerful instrument that you as a project manager may use. You have like in IT, we use Jira, Microsoft Project, and you know, like any AI-based solution could be also a powerful tool. You can like use it efficiently or not, so it's not a guarantee of the success.
Yeah, excellent. So okay, it sounds like this is worth, you know, moving forward in some of these spaces. You know, what actions could a company take to start putting some of the basis of moving forward in place?
I would start like there is two way, like let's call it bottom like top down, where we can think about some cases and scenarios where like some of the decisions can be done by AI, and then we can think, okay, where to get those data and how to build this kind of algorithm which can actually solve our business problem. So go from the problem to the solution, which probably I would say the right approach. But that's not the only one. Sometimes we can go from another side. We have specific set of data. We have data warehouse, we have data lake, we have just enough structured process in the company or sources of the data which we can grab through API. And we can actually sit and think, okay, what kind of insights we can get out of this data? What problems we can solve in the company using those infrastructure that we have already? And that might be the second solution.
Yeah, it's almost that second point there for me is almost, you know, the experimental side, you know, it's the innovation side, if you like, and where maybe some experimenters or data scientists could be experimenting, looking for patterns in the data as well. But yeah, I get the point about the top down, you know, what's the problem you're trying to resolve? Is it, you know, increase project success? define what project success means, and therefore go from there. If it means more about projects delivering to time, for example, then you need to start measuring, how you did previously and build that data set up. So yeah, no, I concur with that. Is there, one big barrier that you see? Why aren't lots of companies doing this now, Roman?
I think the biggest barrier right now is the expertise in this area. So still we don't have that much that's much expertise in the company and the organization in this field. Usually, like in big companies, we may have just someone like who is working with the innovations, or we may have someone who is just open-minded and look for different solutions. But in general, I think majority of the company who has maybe even enough infrastructure or enough problems that can be potentially solved by those kind of learners, they literally don't know and don't have access or don't use this information somehow. So I think when AI will become, like mandatory part of any educational program, no matter like where you are, economics or MBA or project management, I think, that became more and more applicable. But as of now, in many companies, they have never ever think even about like doing something similar, even if they have almost everything ready, just need to make a few simple tweaks. Right now, with all those cloud technologies that we have on the market, it becomes much more available than it was 5 years before.
I was going to say, and even then, if you take a step back, 5 years ago, what does the next 5 years? So I definitely concur, but I think we're starting, that momentum is starting now, whether it be just that everybody's talking about it, or whether there are some practitioners or expert companies like yourselves that can help move some of this stuff forward. So yeah, no, that's fantastic. So before we wrap up, if there was one takeaway from our conversation about AI and project management, what would be your takeaway for people?
I would suggest Googling how AI is used in your industry. So if you're in retail, just check different cases how AI can be used in retail. If you do project management, check how AI can be used in the project management. So right now you can find application of AI in almost any area, and just searching for this information and thinking how this can be applicable for your particular case and for your problems. I think that would be a big first step that you need to make. Everyone should think about.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for your time today, Roman. Been some fascinating answers there, and I look forward to keeping in touch in the future.
Thank you very much, Lloyd. Appreciate your invitation.